Hello, welcome to your online strength coach podcast, episode 54, frequency and volume. Hello, and welcome to episode 54 of your online strength coach podcast. Today is Never Forget the 5th of November, or always remember the 5th of November. That day when our fellow Irish patriots tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament. Well done, guy. Apparently he wasn't even the leader of the gunpowder plot, which I didn't know until I read an article on Facebook. So there you go, learn something new every day. Sometimes you learn something new from Facebook. Sometimes you learn that you've got hepatitis B from Facebook. Fucking Facebook. Today's question is from episode 52, which was on RPE, or rate of preserved. Why do I always fuck that up? Rate of perceived exertion. It comes from Michael Cowan. Question: do you think you should train longer in higher volume, lower intensity because you heard the saying "build, not test"? Or should you spend more time in higher percent training, lower volume, which some say has more specificity, to increase it on 1RM, or 50-50? Cheers. What you want to do is you want to spend the correct amount of time in the correct amount of zones, and then you'll have a great program. The main way you're going to get stronger, certainly as a natural athlete, the way you're going to get stronger is by increasing your volume systematically. You will increase your intensity every now and again, either to reach a new PB or to create an overload scenario. These overload scenarios, or these PBs, are the linchpins, or they're the landmarks probably. The volume's the linchpin. They are the landmarks from which your programming will progress. So let's say you work on a 5-week cycle. At the end of that 5-week cycle, there should be some kind of intensification or some kind of swan song that puts the cycle to bed, or it's like it's the benchmark of the cycle. So for example, if you use something like the Juggernaut method, you will do X amount of weeks of work, but there'll be a rep out somewhere along the way, so like 3 sets of 3 with a rep out on the third set. And the reps that you achieve on that third set will determine the RMs you go off for the next cycle. Something like Russian squat routine, Russian squat masters, Smolov, you start with X amount of strength in the squat, bench, deadlift, whatever you use that program for. You fulfill the 6, 9, 13 weeks of training. At the end of that training period, you will then test your 1RM, your one repetition maximum. At the end of that training, you will now know where your strength lies, whether it's been a fruitful cycle or an unfruitful cycle, whether you're improved, stagnated, or went backwards. All good programs have these elements to them. They have a period of volume accumulation, they have a period of intensification, and they have some kind of benchmark at the end of the program. There is no real way of putting together a productive cycle of training that doesn't gain volume some way. You can't do 3 sets of 1 at the same percentage for 5 weeks and expect to get stronger. It's not going to happen. You can't do the same sets and reps at the same percentage and get stronger. It's not going to happen. You can start with a higher volume and a lower percentage overload from that point of view. So 3 sets to 10 is 75% if you use the Cowan template as an example of a start of a cycle. Or you can use a gradual build-up of volume. So for 3 weeks in the Russian squat routine, or you build up over 9 workouts using 80% of your max. You build up to 6 sets of 6. But in that same week of the 6 sets of 6, there's 6x6, 6x2, 5x5. There's a huge volume load within that week. And you begin the intensification cycle of that program on that week. And if you look at the way that program was organized, there's like a high week, a low week, a high week, a low week, a high week, a low week, a high week, a low week. There's week 1, high week, 6-3, 6-2, 6-4. There's a low week, 6-2, 6-5, 6-2. The highest week of the program, 6-6, 6-2, 6 or 5-5. And then you begin the intensification part of the cycle. But if you look how that's put together, that's a meticulously thought out program. And that's why it works so well, because it is thought out and it follows the principles of accumulation, intensification, and realization. Intensification is when we design a program to peak. Accumulation is when we just consistently build work capacity. But building work capacity alone does not produce 1 RM gains. As you said yourself in your own comment, you said that lifting heavier has a higher specificity to increase your 1 RM. This is absolutely true. However, it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to accrue volume at above 90%. 90% plus is peaking or realization weight. 80% is about the 80 to 85% is pretty much the crux of accumulation weight. You can't lift with increasing volume in the 85 to 100% range without creating significant amounts of fatigue, too much damage. You can't recover from it basically to be able to follow like a ramped program. So when you ask which is better, they both have their own places within programming. One is not better than the other. If you want to train cyclically and not worry about where your strength lies, then you're better off at the lower end of the scale. You're better off at the accumulation phase. So a program you could do would be 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks of Russian squat routine, accumulation phase, deload, accumulate, deload, accumulate, deload, accumulate, and you can do that pretty much ad nauseum until you stall, because you will stall eventually with the same loading pattern. But with that loading pattern, you probably get a lot of traction. You probably find out you get a lot stronger at whatever movement you decide to do that with. So I hope this podcast answers the question. It's not, as normal, it's not a neat answer. It's not an easy answer. But hopefully it provides you with an answer that you can get your teeth into, and you can appreciate the actual reality of programming and how these two variables play in with each other. And why it's not as simple as, should I go heavier or should I do loads of reps? You need to do both, and you need to interplay both within your programming. Thanks for listening. If you like what you listen to, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please visit castironstrength.com. If you have any questions, comments, positive or negative, please put them below in the YouTube. Any emails you want, please send them to speedpowerperformance@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. I've been Mark, and this is now me signing out of episode 54 of your Online Strength Coach podcast.
Shelter from the rain.